Okay, let's get into this one. You see a team, they've just been relegated, but they win their last home game and the place is absolutely bouncing. It feels like a huge celebration.
Yeah, it seems almost paradoxical, doesn't it?
Right. But that's exactly what happened with Leicester City against Ipswich Town, May 18th, 2025.
And the big reason, was all about one player. A proper club legend saying goodbye.
And scoring a landmark goal to boot. So we've got this match report, gives us the facts, the key moments.
What's really fascinating, I think, is how one person's story can just completely change the feeling around a result. Even in disappointment, you find this pride.
Exactly. This game, Leicester won 2-0. We know that from the report.
Yeah.
But both sides, like you said, already down.
Yeah.
So for this deep dive, we're not just, looking at the score. We want to get under the skin of why this game felt so significant.
How did the team's performance, Vardy's big moment, the whole emotional farewell thing, how did it all weave together, especially with relegation hanging over everything?
It really taps into that core thing about being a fan, doesn't it? Sometimes the history, the connection to players, it just outweighs the immediate league position.
Totally. And this match is, well, it's a perfect example.
So let's paint the picture a bit more. Match week 37, relegation confirmed for both.
Yep, done deal.
But interestingly, this win actually bumped Leicester up. They finished 18th, 25 points. Ipswich stayed 19th on 22.
So even then, there was still something to play for. Bragging rights, maybe. A slightly better finish on paper.
It shows the competitive edge is still there, right down to the wire.
But you have to think, what's the main motivation in a game like that? And for Leicester, it seems blindingly obvious. It was all about Jamie Vardy.
Oh, absolutely. His 500th game for Leicester City, 500, and his last one.
Incredible number.
You can just feel the buildup. The report talks about pre-match farewells, the whole team clearly wanting to send him off on a high.
And they did. 28th minute. James Justin makes this brilliant run, the report calls it. Sets up Vardy.
And Vardy does what Vardy does, goal.
Yeah. But not just any goal. His 200th for Leicester City.
200. I mean, that's just iconic. You have to think about the noise in the King Power Stadium right then.
Oh, yeah. The report says, delight of the home fans, but that sounds like an understatement. It must have been pure eruption, joy, gratitude, maybe a bit of, sadness, too.
Definitely. Knowing it's the last time. And the tributes kept coming, substituted in the 80th minute.
Right, and his teammates formed a guard of honor for him.
Yeah, and the report mentions a raucous standing ovation. Just shows the respect, the affection.
And get this for timing. May 18th, the day of the match. It was exactly 13 years since he joined Leicester.
Wow, 13 years to the day. From Fleetwood Town. That whole journey.
It's incredible. The source doesn't list all his trophies and moments, but you don't need it to. 500 games, 200 goals, that tells you the impact. He is part of their modern history.
Absolutely. But, okay, amidst all the Vardy focus, there was still a football match going on.
Right, and Ipswich, they weren't just rolling over. The report makes that clear. They started pretty strongly.
Leif Davis hit the post really early, didn't he? Like 7th minute.
Yeah, and Sam Morsey had a shot just whistle over the bar, too. They definitely came to sort of crash the party initially.
Leicester had chances, too. Besides Vardy's goal, Vardy himself had a couple of half chances earlier on, apparently. Jordan Ayew forced a deflection.
But then, after the hour mark, Casey McAteer steps up.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Even with the Vardy narrative totally dominating, other players still make their mark.
Well, he almost scored just after 60 minutes, hit the woodwork himself, a sign of intent.
And then 69th minute, he gets the second goal, seals the win.
Yep, assisted by Ndidi. Nice build-up involving Sumar before that.
Yeah.
And the report describes it as going into the far bottom corner. Good finish.
It was. He had actually picked up a yellow card earlier in the second half, McAteer. So, bit of an eventful game for him. But ultimately, that goal was decisive.
I have to feel for Ipswich a bit, though.
Yeah, how so?
Well, they hit the post early through Davis. Then George Hurst had a close-range shot saved by Stolarczyk, the Leicester keeper.
Okay, so they were creating chances.
They were. And then, the real kicker, late in the game, Leif Davis thinks he scored. Celebrations cut short.
VAR.
VAR check, yeah. Disallowed for offside. Just compounds the frustration for them right at the end.
Ouch. That's tough.
Yeah.
And we saw plenty of the substitutions too, didn't we? Trying to change things up.
Yeah, Justin came off for Ricardo Pereira for Leicester. Vardy got his big ovation replaced by Daka. McAteer came off for Evans later too.
And Ipswich made a whole host of changes trying to get back into it. Ayew, Enciso, Hurst, Clark, Kajust, Morsi, all subbed off eventually.
Shows they were still pushing, still trying different things.
The report also notes Leicester wanted that clean sheet in the second half.
Yeah, which they got. So tactically, you get the sense Leicester wanted the Vardy moment, obviously, but also wanted to finish strong defensively at home.
And Ipswich, well, despite being down, their early play showed they weren't just there for the Vardy show. They wanted to compete.
Definitely. You can sort of read the manager's intentions, even without direct quotes. Protect the lead in the clean sheet for Leicester, find a way back in for Ipswich.
And the fans. Well, their perspective is crystal clear. That delight at the goal, the raucous ovation. The report is even titled, "One Last Vardy Party."
Yeah, it really frames the whole event through that lens, the fan experience, the emotional connection to him.
So when you pull back and look at the bigger picture, this game, it just perfectly shows how even when a match seems, on paper, pretty meaningless between two relegated teams,
The human stories, the individual milestones, they can make it incredibly powerful and resonant.
exactly. It really highlights how important a club legend is, that desire from everyone, fans, teammates, to honor those contributions.
It's a reminder that clubs are built on this stuff, the shared history, these personal connections. It's not just about where you finish in the league.
And you saw those contrasting emotions so clearly. Pure joy and celebration for Leicester, focused on Vardy.
Set against that obvious frustration for Ipswich, especially with the disallowed goal right at the end.
Yeah. And it also, just as a final point on the league, it shows that even at the bottom, teams fight. They compete for position, for pride, right up until that final whistle blows.
Absolutely. So wrapping up this deep dive, the standout things have to be Vardy's goal, his 200th and his 500th and final game.
McAteer getting that second goal to make sure of the win.
The Ipswich hitting the post, the saves, that late VAR drama.
And just that whole emotional atmosphere surrounding Vardy's farewell.
It does make you think, doesn't it? What does that kind of victory actually mean to a club and its fans when relegation is already confirmed?
Yeah, it's clearly not about points or position at that stage. It's about something else entirely. Community, history, respect.
It really underlines how vital these iconic players, these legends, are to a club's identity. Especially in tough times, they provide these moments that everyone can rally around.
Absolutely. So if you want to dig a bit deeper, maybe look up some Jamie Vardy career highlights. His story is genuinely amazing.
Or even think about other clubs and those long-serving players who become icons. What impact did they have?
Yeah. Hopefully, this look at the match report and the context around it has given you a fuller picture of that day, going beyond just the 2-0 scoreline.
Because there's often so much more going on in these games than you see at first glance. The reports, the opinions, the personal stories, they all add layers.